Hey there, business owner. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Evolution Podcast. This is our weekly episode, and I'm so happy you are here. Let's get started. Hi there, entrepreneurs. Welcome to this week's episode of the Entrepreneur Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Annette Walter. I'm so happy you are here. You are in the right spot with growth-minded entrepreneurs just like you that are on the path of growing and scaling their business to new levels and beyond. Real talk, real tips, real business. I'm an operational growth coach and business coach and building a company right alongside you. Today in our episode, I normally drop on Tuesdays an interview with another entrepreneur and share their story. But today I wanted to mix things up. I really like to keep things creative on this side and make sure that we are delivering a ton of content to you. I know we have a very, very great audience out there and a community of people that are listening weekly. Thank you so much for that. And what we're going to be talking about today are actually 6 books that I recommend from the business side. And I get this question all the time, what's a good book? If I'm interested in growing my business, scaling my business, what books are great books to read right now? So I'm going to run through 6 of my top favorites right now. It's hard just to pick 6 because there's so many good ones out there. But I encourage you to be reading daily, to take time to read daily, even if it's flipping through a few pages in the morning or listening to an audible as you walk or reading a few pages before bed. When you stimulate your brain, when you always are continuously learning and gaining knowledge and gaining perspective, that's when you really elevate to new levels. So let's get started. Book number 1 is actually about sleep. Sleep is such an amazing thing and a gift, and yet it's so many people struggle with sleep. I personally severely struggle with sleep, so I do a lot of work around this. Some of you may know that my son is type 1 diabetic. So what happens at night, we monitor his blood glucose 24/7, but if he goes out of range, either too high or too low, there's an alarm that goes off. And depending on what he eats or how even the physiological nature of his body and hormones throughout the sleep cycle in the evening or whatever kind of growth stage he's going through in life, it really changes his blood sugar. So oftentimes, many times a night, I will be attending to his blood sugar and adjusting that for him. And once your sleep cycle is interrupted, it is really, really challenging. So I really try and make sure that we are doing a lot of work around this in our household so that everyone in our household is sleeping well. And most recently, I picked up the book Sleep Smarter. This is a book written by Shawn Stevenson, and I'm listening to it right now on Audible. I'm the majority of the way through the book, but it really talks about the value of sleep, the power of sunlight, and when's the best time to get sunlight in order to have solid sleep. Talks about caffeine, bedtime routines, and everything and anything around sleep that you want to know. It's a great read, and I've really gained a lot from it personally, a lot of tips. Outside of kind of the cliche tips that we know we should be doing, some deeper tips around sleep and the habit of sleep, and really making sure that we are set up for sleep success. And also around serotonin and melatonin and cortisol and how that impacts the overall performance of us as entrepreneurs. If you are not sleeping right now, I highly, highly suggest that you do as much as you can to dedicate some time to making sure that you are sleeping better. If you have any tips for me, as always, reach out to me because, again, I really, this is something that I almost sometimes at night have sleep anxiety around because I get so nervous that I'm not going to sleep. Sometimes I know I'm not going to sleep, and then it just keeps me up all night. So I'm doing a lot of deep work on this. I might even go for a sleep test and take it to the next level if things don't change and I can't change them on my own in the next few weeks. The next book that I love to recommend is Atomic Habits, and this is by James Clear. And he really gives you the framework and the systems to make strong habits, to keep on improving your habits and introducing new habits into your life, okay? And when you rise to the level of your goals, you can rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your system. So that's a quote from that book. You can do as much as you really can try to get to your goals, but if you really are only as good as your systems, and your systems start with the right discipline and the right habits, okay? So this book gives you a really clear framework for building solid systems. And I know systems is a word that makes some people cringe, but really when you are set up for success and continue to set yourself up for success and continue to set yourself up for success as chapters change and your business evolves and you evolve, you really want to make sure that you are building the right framework and the right system around your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. The third book is called Fierce Conversations, okay? And this was one of the first business books that I read. And I have to give you a heads up. This is not a beach read, okay? Do not take this book out on the beach read. This is a book where you get out a highlighter. It's like a textbook type of read, but it's by Susan Scott. She also has a second book to that called Fierce Leadership. But it gives you effective ways to have emotional conversations so that you are making sure that you are effectively having productive conversations in every angle of your life, whether it's at work or at home, in any kind of relationship that you are currently in. And she talks about peeling the onion and not jumping to conclusions or assumptions, but really asking clarifying questions, the right questions to get to the deeper facts to really make those sound decisions and have effective communications, especially when there is a lot of emotion at hand, okay? Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. The next one, number 4 on the list, is Profit First, okay? This is a great basic financial read that really turns the basic and traditional form of accounting and your typical profit and loss upside down on its head. A lot of accountants and bookkeepers are somewhat timid as they start to read this and adapt the concept if they choose to adapt the concept. Some choose not to adapt the concept, but it really talks about paying yourself first. And here's what I like to recommend about this book. Michalowicz is the author of this book. He's written, the toilet paper theory and all of these different books. He's had a lot of success in his writing, an established author. And he talks about the fact that sometimes entrepreneurs don't know when to hire or when to invest in their business. And oftentimes that they pay themselves last or never even pay themselves, for the first 10 plus years of their business. And he gives you the different percentages and formulas and suggests setting up different checking accounts and automating the disbursement of the funds so that your money is working for you. So basically it's a way to organize your money on the bi-monthly and quarterly basis so that you understand what each dollar of revenue, what each money that you make in your business is earmarked for. So it's a really good read, especially great for the solopreneurs and, the companies that are out there that are really at that $250, $500 million mark. As you start to add different pieces and components of your business, it can get a little hairier to do this model. But if it's a discipline that you want to introduced to your company from the beginning, or maybe, as you're just getting started, it's a great, great setup. I actually have a great flowchart on this. If you want to DM me, I'm happy to send that to you and share it with you. But it's something that I like to talk about with clients because a lot of people steer away or are afraid of looking at their P&L. But when you approach it in a simple way, in a different formula, it clicks. Okay. So if you're struggling with the financials of knowing when to financially make investments in your business, or perhaps you just are, it's okay to admit that you really have a hard time, or you feel weaker with the finances of your business because you're so busy doing what you're an expert and doing in your business. This is a great book to read. And I listened to it on Audible, and I had a couple of people on my team read it. So we had some open conversations around how it would work in our business and what we would apply, what we could use, what were some good takeaways. And I know you'll gain a lot from this book. The next book that I just finished actually is a bit of a motivational book, and this is called Believe It, IT, and it is by Jamie Kern Lima. She is the founder of It Cosmetics, and it shares her story of defeat and failure, and defeat and failure, and defeat and failure, and hearing no, and hearing no, and hearing no, and hearing no, and then finally catching the break and getting on QVC, and then doing like 200 shows a year on QVC, all while she's trying to start a family. She and her husband owned and operated the company together. So it talks about operating a company with your spouse when you are in the thick of it, and really just working like a dog, saying no to all of these different lifetime commitments and these big life events and missing things. But she talks about grit and grace and gratitude. And that's really what what was her model through it all. And she recently sold to someone who said no to her. And, it was a $1 billion sale, $1 billion plus sale, in the billions for sure. I can't remember the exact amount on the spot. But it's a phenomenal story. And she really just never gave up. And sometimes you just need to hear that. And that's why I'm saying, if you pick up a book a couple of times a day, or a couple of pages a day, it really goes a long way, because you need to hear it. You need to be reminded that you're not the only one going through some of your daily struggles. Some days are better than others. Some days you don't need to hear this stuff, but others days it's a great, great reminder. And then the last book that I really, really am recommending to a lot of business owners right now, particularly women business owners. The last two happen to be stories of women business owners. It's called Undaunted, and that's by Kara Golden. She's actually going to be with me on the podcast later in April. It might drop in May. And she wrote a book called Undaunted. She's the founder of Hint, and she also worked with her husband and built the company with her husband. They're a $150 million company based out of San Francisco. And you hear her story literally of going to the bigger players, not hearing what you want to hear, how she was a tech exec, and her story fresh out of college, how she built her career and how she was tenacious and showed up. And she was really creative in her asks and creative in her approach, and not afraid to make choices and decisions and to question things, but to also ask for things. Never afraid to ask. So I really liked this. I listened to this one on Audible as well. And you just really feel like a friend's talking to you, and she's just telling her story to you. It just reads really well. And it's it's just a really great book. So many good nuggets of information, lots of inspiration, and a great read that I'm recommending right now, because there's a lot of great stories out there. So to recap, number 1 is sleep smarter. Make sure you're focusing on your sleep. You're getting good sleep. That's by Sean Stevenson. The next one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And then Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Believe It by Jamie Kern-Lima. And Undaunted by Kara Golden. Those are my top 6 right now. There are so many more. I'd love to hear from you and hear your favorite book right now. Someone just asked me for a recommendation on a sales book. And I didn't have one that came to mind right away, but hopefully one of you can jog my memory if you have a really great sales book out there for your team or for you. When it comes to developing your sales and your growth and your revenue and your sales team. So leave me a review, and thank you for all of the 5 stars. Thank you for those that have recommended people that they want to hear on this podcast. They're like, oh, Annette, will you interview this person? Or, oh, Annette, you should think about talking to this person. And why I do this, okay, my why, beyond my bigger why of why I'm doing what I do, with iEvolve Consulting and Timber Industries Consulting. But why I do this podcast is honestly for you guys. It's for you guys. It's to show up with you and for you, to feel like you are surrounded by a community of entrepreneurs that are out there with the grit and the grace and the gratitude and the grind and being tenacious, showing up, building good habits, trying to improve and work on the things that you right now are working on too. So this is really for you. I'm grateful that I'm able to do this. Honestly, there's a lot of hard work that goes into this behind the scenes. Sarah on my team does such a phenomenal job pulling all of this together behind the scenes. And, this is for you. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all of your feedback. And, I am so proud of you. So proud of you. If you want to reach out, the email is yourock@ievolveconsulting.com. You can drop me an email. We can set up some time to talk specifically and deeper about what's happening with you and your business right now. And that's gold, you guys. That is gold. When we can talk about specifically what is going on with you in your business, there's so much out there right now that you're probably inundated with. Just because you have entrepreneur or CEO or business owner in your title on LinkedIn or your title out there, that you're being targeted by all of these different programs. I know it because I see it, and it happens to me too. So sifting through someone that you know, someone that you like, someone that you trust to really talk intimately about your business in a safe place, judgment-free, stress-free, just with some solid resources, it is gold. And I only say that because I do it too. I never, ever preach what I don't practice. So I am right here with you. I'm growing companies right alongside you. I'm just proud of you, and I'm happy to be here with you. So keep evolving, entrepreneur. Thanks for listening today, and I will see you soon. Wow, what an episode. Did you learn something new? I hope so. I am so happy you were able to be here with us today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a review and I will be sure to read it and respond to you. Also, if you'd like to email me, my email address is yourock@ievolveconsulting.com. Hit subscribe, and every Tuesday you'll get notification when the next episode drops. We really have some amazing interviews and tips in the future. Anything you need, I'm here for you. I want you to keep your momentum. I want to help you stay accountable. I want you to stay inspired. I want you to evolve. So please let me know what you need, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care until next time.